You know, it wasn't that long ago that Keenan Allen shared his views at the request of Le'Veon Bell regarding Le'Veon's latest rap effort. Said Keenan Allen, "I got to keep it banned, bro. This ain't it." Trash can emoji. Well, hey, you got to give Keenan Allen credit. He's going to try to enter the fray himself. And now we can all use the trash can emoji or the fire emoji to describe what we think of this.
And it don't change if I had it my way. You would know that you are. You're the coffee that I need in the morning. You're the sunshine when it's raining and pouring. Won't you give yourself to me?
You know, for those of you watching on NBCSN, the facial expressions really make this. I think he's undergoing some sort of a painful medical examination, not singing. That's yeah.
What is going
Joe
on?
Cockerish. I don't know.
I don't know. What was that?
I didn't know he was 40. Let me just leave it at that.
Unbelievable. That was, it's tough to criticize other people's music and then get there and just wail around like a cat in an alley that's getting attacked or something. That was horrendous.
We'll see what Le'Veon Bell has to say about that on Twitter. Meanwhile, we have checked what you have had to ask us on Twitter. We put out a call for questions, and you have responded. We're going to rip through as many of them as we can. Let's start with Hyatt 81. With the release of Kam Chancellor and Doug Baldwin, there are two fierce competitors being removed from the sideline and the locker room on each side of the ball. Even if not playing, both had value as leaders. How do the Seahawks replace those voices and not miss a beat, Big Cat?
It's going to be tough. You know what? This is why you pay Russell Wilson as much as you paid him, because it's not just the play on the field. Russell Wilson has to control this locker room. He has to be the guy, because you are now the Seahawks over the last two seasons have lost the team that won the Super Bowl, has lost the team that had that identity, and it's Russell Wilson's team now. And this happens in football. You see the teams kind of transition. You see all the different teammates that Tom Brady has had, all the different teammates that Ben Roethlisberger has had. It comes down to the quarterback and the coach to make sure that this success that they've had continues with a totally new crop of guys. But it's going to be tough because Doug Baldwin is an all-time competitor. Kam Chancellor the same. It is going to be difficult. No one should say it's easy.
Well, and what you ultimately do is you have to have faith in your ability to spot guys late in the draft or undrafted, like Kam Chancellor, a sixth-rounder, like Doug Baldwin, who was undrafted, and develop those guys, spot those traits that you're looking for. John Schneider, the GM of the team, has proven that he can find guys late in the draft or undrafted. Richard Sherman, for crying out loud, was a fifth-round draft pick. So you have to have faith that you can find those guys, and you have to always take the broader look at the makeup of your locker room. And you have to ask yourself, okay, we are moving on from a very fiery, opinionated personality. Maybe we need to find a guy who is coming in this year who has that passion that he's willing to wear on his sleeve to replace what Doug Baldwin is taking away. Same thing for the defensive side of the ball. Where's our leadership going to come from? We're not just looking for great players. We're looking for guys who will come in and help complement the players we have and build a team. Chris Sims always says that at the Patriots front office, they have a sign that says, "We are not collecting players, we are building a team." And every time a guy exits who has a unique skill set, both from a football standpoint and from a leadership standpoint, you have to think, well, who do we find to replace that guy, what that guy does? And I think that's how the Seahawks have to approach it. And I think they have in the past, which is why they had a Doug Baldwin and a Kam Chancellor, neither of whom were all that heralded coming out of school.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, when you have a system set up, when you have a coach set up, when you have the quarterback set up, the other things will usually fall into place here. And I think the Seahawks have that string of success that they can look back at and say, this is how we do it, the Seahawk way, so to speak, and they'll have success going forward. Because I trust Russell Wilson.
Well, and look, they're making him the highest paid player in NFL history, at least until Patrick Mahomes gets his contract. So they have systematically built this team around him over the past few years. They've gotten rid of the guys who kind of resented him or didn't like him, and now it's all about Russell Wilson and building that roster around him. All right, next one comes from @Sean1083VA. Do you think Josh Rosen will have a better career in Miami than Ryan Tannehill?
That's a good question. I'm going to say yes, because what was Ryan Tannehill's career in Miami? Like, what was the notable point? I mean, he didn't even play in that in the playoff game against the Steelers a few years ago. That was Matt Moore, right? I see. This is the problem
you're right.
with Ryan Tannehill.
He had a very good 2016 season. He got hit low by Calais Campbell, who was with the Cardinals at the time, messed up his knee, and it was Matt Moore down the stretch and into the playoffs. Ryan Tannehill lasted in that job for 7 years. He got a second contract for crying out loud. I mean, he's the Jeff Fisher of quarterbacks. He just kind of survives at a level of mediocrity. Don't give me that look. You know that I'm right.
No, you don't make those jokes. Listen, Ryan Tannehill, when you say Ryan Tannehill, his career at the Dolphins, and you can't picture one huge moment. You can't picture, like, okay, this was the year, or this is Ryan Tannehill. We always make the joke. Next year is the year he takes a step forward, and it just never came. Next year was always the year he took a step forward, whether it be injury or just bad play. He never put it all together, and I think Josh Rosen will have a better career with the Dolphins than Ryan Tannehill. I'm still high on Josh Rosen. I'm still buying Josh Rosen's stock. If you want to sell it, I'll buy it. Give it all to me.
How did you characterize Tannehill's career with the Dolphins? What was that line again?
He every year was, this is the year that Ryan Tannehill is going to take a step forward. This is the next year is the step forward for Ryan Tannehill. And you can't think of one. If you go, hey, shoot, Ryan Tannehill, memorable moment with the Dolphins. What do you think of? I don't know, knee injury? There's nothing.
But here's my point. That kind of summarizes Jeff Fisher's entire time with the Rams.
No, stop. Go get away. Get away.
I think that Rosen has the potential to be better than Tannehill ever was. The question is, are they truly all in with him, or is he just a one-year Band-Aid to see how they do this year and whether or not they're in position to draft Tua Tagovailoa or someone else that they fall in love with next year in the draft? Can they fall in love with Josh Rosen quickly enough that they don't get fascinated with the idea of getting their own rookie quarterback? I think that's the real question.
Well, that's up to Josh Rosen. If Josh Rosen wins football games, they won't be thinking we got to go get Tua or we got to get Justin Herbert. So that's kind of, Josh Rosen, if he's going to get a shot at starting here, it's up to him. If he wins football games, he will keep his job because they won't be able to draft one of these guys next year that seems like a franchise quarterback. And listen, the Dolphins might just be back into the Ryan Tannehill where they're just like, Josh Rosen next year. I don't know. It's a weird situation because Ryan Tannehill is one of those guys. You know what? It was Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks is my memorable moment for Ryan Tannehill, just being on Hard Knocks. There you go.
And he didn't know the Chiefs were in the AFC West. I remember that. That's the one thing that stands out.
Yes.
The thing about the Dolphins, they've never bottomed out. They were 7-9 last year. We act like the Dolphins are one of the worst teams in football. You have to bottom out one year to put yourself in position to get that great quarterback. And the question is, can they find that great quarterback without bottoming out? And again, it comes down to Josh Rosen. If he plays well and the team plays well, they won't be in position to even get a Justin Herbert or a Tua Tagovailoa. All right, at Big Lou Dog, what's next for Aaron Rodgers? He's been banged up the last couple of years and is 10-12-1 as a starter in his last 23 games. New coach, another year older, less mobile, questionable attitude. Can he bounce back? Will he ever make it to another Super Bowl? If not, what's his legacy? Big Cat, what do you say about the Bears' chief rival quarterback?
I hate to say it, but I really do think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a fantastic 2019, a bounce-back year. And I don't want to make excuses for Aaron Rodgers, but he was injured week 1 against the Bears. I think that lingered for a little bit there. And this is a prove-it year because Aaron Rodgers is a phenomenal quarterback, a Hall of Fame quarterback. But I think he had some humble pie last year. That big story comes out about the dysfunction in Green Bay. Will that be his legacy? I think Aaron Rodgers has an inner competitor to him that says, I don't want this to be my legacy. I'm going to make this right. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a very good year. I'm going to say right now Aaron Rodgers will go to one more Super Bowl. Whether he wins it or not, I don't know. He will go to one more Super Bowl before he retires.
Yeah, look, I'm surprised he hasn't been to one more beyond the one he was at 9 years ago in only his third season as a starter. But the jury's out for me on what Matt LaFleur does as a head coach. And we've heard some praise, and, I mean, that's good so far, but it's meaningless until they start playing games. The challenge is going to be getting the most out of Aaron Rodgers, getting the most out of the team around him. It could be moving in the right direction. They've definitely changed their philosophical approach to acquiring talent. There's a higher degree of accountability there than we've seen in recent years, and I think Mark Murphy's going to be the next one to go if he can't turn this team into something positive with Aaron Rodgers in his remaining years as a team's quarterback. But he's moving toward that point where he's going to have a decline. Not all of these guys are going to play well into their 40s without showing signs of where Tom Brady is the aberration. We'll see what Aaron Rodgers can do. All right, another question from Keith McLean, 78. Assuming Patrick Mahomes improves as a quarterback, What's the over-under on his yards, touchdowns, and interceptions this season? He had a top 2 or 3 quarterback all-time season. Obviously quite rare. What can we expect statistically while acknowledging he's a better player than the year before? See, I'm going to challenge the entire premise of this question. This question assumes he's going to be better this year. I think there's a chance he's going to be worse this year, with or without Tyreek Hill. And there's a good chance he won't have Tyreek Hill. What we've had, Big Cat, is an opportunity for entire offseason for all of the defensive coordinators on the Chiefs' schedule this year to spend hour after hour coming up with ways to stymie Patrick Mahomes. And we've seen this before, whether it's the Wildcat, whether it's the read option, whatever the flavor of the month is, the run pass option play, whatever it is, whether it's a player or a scheme, you spend 8 months trying to figure out how to stop it. And I think that the defenses are going to come up with ways to take some of the steam out of Patrick Mahomes. We saw what the Patriots were able to do to slow them down a little bit in the AFC Championship game. But I think Mahomes is going to take a step back this year, not because he's going to be worse per se, but I think the defenses are going to be better prepared on how to deal with him.
See, I think he's going to take a step back just because it's natural, and he's not going to be bad, but he's not going to have 50 touchdowns because 50 touchdowns is an incredible season. So it's going to be one of those weird situations where I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to be worse at all. I think he just won't have the same numbers that he had last year because those numbers were so eye-popping and so out of control and everything had to go right that he's probably going to throw 45 touchdowns, and everyone will say, well, sophomore slump, Patrick Mahomes threw 5 less touchdowns. No, that's not. 45 touchdowns is a fantastic year. It could probably win him an MVP again, but that's just how good he was last year, that it's only natural for him to come down a little bit, regression to the mean.
And also dealing with expectations. Last year, we went into the season not really knowing what the Chiefs were going to be, and they were great. This year, they're going to be expected to be great right out of the gates. And if they stumble at all early on, the vibe changes. He's struggling. They are catching up to him. If he doesn't have Tyreek Hill, it could be a very different year for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, we're going to take a quick break. What you're going to be talking about today, plus maybe another Twitter question or two as we wrap up this Friday edition of Pro Football Talk Live right after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.